So we're still messing with this thing. I'm laying out the harness that we just thinned out, which is the old engine harness that is no longer engine harness. Now essentially it's just like sort of engine harness and power to AC. It's basically an AC harness at this point. Let me show you what it looks like. I think it looks great, but let's take a look. I know it looks like madness in here right now, but as far as the harness that we loomed, it all looks really good. I laid it up on the firewall and did some connections with some P-clamps, and then it runs down the intake manifold. I'll probably put some P-clamps on the valve covers there. Same thing over here. And then obviously you've got like AC connections. One of these actually plugs into this, which this is the one. I still have not fixed that one yet. But that actually goes into this pressure sensor here. This is off the AC compressor. But yeah, it's all laid out really nice. And we got the ECU mounted back over there on the fender well. So I'm in the process of pulling out a bunch of the old wiring from the Pro Charger fuel system. This thing is gnarly. It looks like an old equalizer. Digital FMU. It was manufactured by Aeromotive for Pro Charger. I don't even know if this thing worked. I never seen any lights on it. Of course, I never even looked anytime I had this thing running. But I'm in the process. I got all the power wires and stuff pulled out. There's some more wiring up here that needs to come out that runs underneath the truck. And I believe, because this was connected to that FMU, but I believe this goes down to the fuel pump, which we'll have to get underneath the truck and pull that out. This will all stay. This is for the hood. This is the trans harness that needs to get tucked back in there. And then stereo stuff, because we're going to end up putting some beats in this thing. You feel me? This truck actually has remote start and alarm. I think it's remote start. Maybe it's not actually. Comp start. I hate all this aftermarket stuff because I've never seen anyone do it and it looked nice. So I started getting underneath the dash so I could pull all this, like the vacuum hose and everything off, because this has got to have a boost reference. So I was pulling all this out from underneath the dash, and I was like, you know what, I need to get down in there and pull this factory stuff out, or this aftermarket remote start stuff out. And I pulled that cover off. And let me just show you what this mess is. I mean, look at this. What in the devil? Like, it's no wonder this thing had starting problems periodically. Like, who knows what kind of wiring frickin' fiasco this causes. So I'm going to try and go through and dissect all this trash out of here because I don't want any part of this. I'm going to get to laying underneath the dash and see if I can pull this stuff out of here. And I'll show you what it looks like when I get it all out. All right, so we got a box of goodies in the mail today. And our stuff for the Durango showed up from Utawsome Performance. I did notice the other day, I decided to look up and see when my stuff was going to get here. And they actually posted something on their website saying that they are no longer going to be in business. They're shutting down. So pretty much all these parts I got for this, can't get them anymore. They're going to be obsolete. Might have to find an option for Magnum guys to make this stuff. All right, so the first thing in the box, as you can tell, I already opened it. This is our Valley tray. This is what they use to put underneath the intake manifold, like so, to keep oil from splashing up on the bottom of the intake manifold and heat soaking the intake. So all we've got to do is not lose this intake gasket. Unbolt these 3 bolts on this spider set up here, and then bolt this down. You can see it's got small holes for drain backs and stuff as well. Yeah, we'll get that bolted down in there. That one's pretty quick and easy. I don't know how thick that is. That one would actually be pretty easy to replicate. And then we've got this piece. This is a 3D printed piece that he makes that actually goes on the bottom of that metal pan that sits right here, and it bolts right in the middle, and it helps just deflect air to the runners. So kind of a neat little piece. It would surely help deflect air on both sides rather than it just hitting the bottom of the pan. But I think that's kind of neat. I don't know if you're supposed to set it sideways since the runners are kind of sideways, or if you should set it straight on. I don't know. It looks straight on. I thought they had one that they made that was actually not straight and it was angled for that purpose. We got that. And then we got our VRP plates here, which these come, and you have to modify these to make these fit because they do not fit exactly into your intake, as you can see. These are a trim to fit deal, and then you'll trim them and weld them in place. I think at one point he was actually putting like silicone around it, trying to seal it up. I don't believe I'll be doing that. I'll end up trimming these up and just weld them in. I won't weld everything all the way around, but I will weld long sections, the intake, to hold them in place. And as you can see, they kind of fit around that webbing there. A lot of that stuff, if I wanted to get real carried away, I could cut all that stuff out and do some modifications and stuff. But this is just like a everyday person's modification list to try and better the Kager intake. I'm not going to port it or anything, and we're just going to modify it with these things from Utawsome and get them put on the engine. But I am kind of leaning towards pulling the engine out of the truck, mainly just because I want to clean the engine compartment the way I want. I want the engine bay to be spotless in this thing. This car has the potential to probably be one of the nicest cars I own. Just needs some love. And also, the greatest thing about this truck is the engine compartment. So I want it to look fantastic. So I think what we're going to do is, most everything's out of here. I am going to go ahead and pull the Holley terminator back off. I've got a couple holes to drill there. I'm going to pull the battery box and stuff out of it. I'm going to pull the factory harness back out of it because I've got it mocked up and kind of sitting inside the engine compartment. We're going to pull that out. And then I would say more than likely we're probably just going to try and get into pulling this motor out. And it's going to definitely push progress back a little bit further. But it's something that's got to be done. It needs to be done. I think my big thing is just being able to detail the engine bay and get this engine cleaned up and painted just to make everything look that much better inside of here. That way, when we go back together with all this new wiring and everything, you're just not putting lipstick on a pig, you know what I'm saying? So enough about the Durango project. We're going to jump over to the garage and show you what we got going on over there. We're out in the garage buttoning up some engines. We buttoned up Troy's engine, got it all put together, got all the rings gapped, everything. We got the flat top pistons in this thing now. I was going to video it, and then I just said the hell with it. We are already at part 2. This is kind of like part 3 ending of this engine build, but we got it all put together, all cleaned up, assembled, got all the fresh paint on it. I did go ahead and put a little bit of paint on his cylinder heads because they were so corroded. You could see where they had the corrosion and stuff they were trying to get off with the angle grinder, whoever put this thing together previously. But we went back to LS9 head gaskets, got some new head studs and stuff in it, and new bearings, new oil pump, new cam bearings. We went from the dish piston to a flat top. The block got decked and the heads got resurfaced. Now we've got a good sealing surface there because they angle grindered all that stuff as well. So all that stuff should be good to go. Should have a little bit more compression in it now. Maybe give her a little bit more thump. And then we got my buddy Alberto's engine all put together. Just went through and sanded the decks on both the block and the heads. We didn't have them surfaced or nothing. Put new bearings, rod bearings, main bearings, cam bearings in this one, new oil pump as well. New head gaskets, had some crappy head gaskets on it. We went to the small bore L-ring gaskets on this one. And then I sold them instead of the cast manifolds that actually came off the new 4.8 that we tore down in one of previous videos. Because this is going in his Fairmont and he doesn't have the turbo kit stuff laid out for it yet. So I think this reversed stock manifold setup will actually be pretty cool. And I like this one because this one's really far back. So as long as it clears the motor mounts, which if we cut these off and put V-bands on, should be pretty good. It was something he bought when he bought the car, and they had told him that was a good running engine, didn't have any problems with it. It did have ARP head studs in it, which was nice, had a comp cam in it, but it did have 3 bent rods, 1 broken piston. The cam bearings were wiped out of this thing. So we went through and just disassembled the whole thing, cleaned everything, just got it cleaned up and put back together for him. So this will be a cool little runner. This engine here should make 600-700 horsepower, no problem. And then Troy's, we're going to try and wring its neck and hopefully make somewhere in the ballpark of 1,000-1,100 with this engine. So, but yeah, knocking some stuff out. Just slowly chipping away on the list of engines to build and finish up prior to race season. So I'm going to head out to the shop. We're going to get in some stuff out there. Let's get over there and see what we got to do. Back out in the shop, and we're going to be working on one of my personal engines. This is one that I got from a buddy of mine. Super rusty block. And I think I'm going to rebuild this one and probably turn this one into a backup, spare, oops, somebody needs a motor that's ready to go to drop into something, put a little boost to, whatever. Or I may end up selling this one. So it's super rusty. So I'm going to get it on the stand. And we're going to get the needler out, try and get all the rust scale off of it, and show you what this one looks like. It's kind of standard procedure for anything I get, super rusty. And but anyways, let's get into cleaning this thing and see if we can turn this old engine around. All right, so we got it all needled and stuff. I got it sprayed off with some orange cleaner. I got it all sprayed down. I'll get it blown off, get it dried up, and then we can put some paint on it. And then I got the heads already assembled. And next order of business will be get the crank. I brought the crank in. It's over here on the floor. And we'll get it polished, or well, it's already been polished actually, but it needs to be cleaned because it's been sitting on the floor for a while. But we'll get it cleaned up, wiped up. I'm gonna get the reluctor wheel welded on it. So this is gonna be a 3rd gen rod and piston motor, but that crank actually has a 58X reluctor wheel on it because all my stuff has 58X reluctor wheels. So we're gonna set it up as if it was gonna be a backup for all my stuff. Who knows, maybe we'll end up selling it, whatnot, but I've got some new pistons and stuff in the cabinet that came out of an old motor. I'll get those cleaned up. I say new pistons. They're new-ish pistons. They came out of a low mileage deal. But as you can tell, they are super, super clean. They just got some nastiness on top of them because the motor had actually gotten some water in it. But these are fresh units. I mean, they still got paint on them. I haven't washed these. These are directly out of the motor. As you can tell, there's hardly any skirt wear on it. But those are going to go in it. And, yeah, we'll get this all cleaned up, get it painted up, get the crank measured, start dropping it in. I've got bearings and everything for it. I got head studs in for it. Hey, sloppy stage 1.5 cam. I probably need to order some 7-layer head gaskets just to be safe. I've got some other random head gaskets. Actually, I've got some lightly used 7 layers. Maybe I'll clean those up. Who knows? I think I've actually got a set of 7 layers that came out of the 6.2 at one point that didn't really have much runtime on them. Let's see what I got down here for clean used head gaskets. Don't worry, we'll copper spray them. These are 3-layer 5.7 head gaskets. 3-layer Felpros. Those actually came off the first 5.3 that I built for the BK when it was supercharged. Those actually surprisingly did pretty good. Everybody said don't use them, but I did. These are 6-liter 6.2s. I believe these are 5 layers. These are like LS3 head gaskets. I guess worst case we could throw some of those on there, but those I don't think actually even got used. I think they got torqued down on the engine and the engine had to come apart because something happened and whatnot. So those might get washed and thrown on. The only downfall is the bore diameter. I don't know what the bore diameter is on these gaskets. I try and steer away from using something that big on it because you've got such a big void around the head gasket. I don't like doing that normally. Or I've got just another set of the standard 5.3, 5.7 head gaskets. Yeah, and these, I don't believe these were used either. Outside diameter of that idea that gasket's much closer to standard bore, even though these are 4 or 5.7, so the bore's a little big. Who knows, we might clean those up, copper spray those, and just slap those on there. Anyways, we'll get this thing all painted up, try and make her look a little better, see if we can get this thing put together and have our little backup motor ready to go. All right, so I went ahead and put some paint on this engine now that we got it all needled and everything, and I started to put cam bearings in it, and I didn't have a full set. So I'm kind of on hold right now until I get some bearings. And I actually ran out of paint in the process. I ran out of all my semi-gloss Van Sickle, and they didn't have any more at the store. So I opted for some professional Rust-Oleum. I'm not a big fan of this. It works okay, but the color or the finish on it, I'm not a huge fan of. But we went ahead and used this to kind of go over top of my previous coat of Van Sickle, and these did not respond well together. So it doesn't look as good as I would normally like it, but for what we're using it for, it'll be just fine. Like I said, it doesn't look terrible. It actually looks better in pictures than it does in person, but it's definitely got some, it's not as smooth as the Van Sickle lays out. And I think a lot of that is because I put a base of Van Sickle on it, and then once I stack this paint on top of it, they're both enamel paints, but for some reason they didn't respond well with each other. See if I can get this flipped over without flipping my stand over. One-handed, here we go. We just went through and sanded the decks and then Scotch-Brighted them, gave her a little ball hone job. But overall, I mean, this thing looks pretty good. even though the paint didn't turn out quite like I wanted it to. This one will be a good unit as a spare, and or if somebody decides they need an engine last minute and I've got something on the stand ready to go, that way I can, you know, I can sell it if need be. But we're gonna put that sloppy stage 1.5 cam in it. I've got some PQ YRPs, head studs, if you feel me there. Won't be able to lean on her real hard. But since we're on hold now with parts for this one, I think I'm just gonna end the video off there. Kind of been all over the place in this video, but that's usually how I work. Like I'm so scatterbrained all the time, so I'm kind of always all over the place, which is probably not good. It's probably not the way I should be as a YouTuber. You know, I need to make everything nice. It's not how I roll. It just is what it is. Appreciate everybody coming along. We're almost to 3,000 subs. Pretty cool. My goal, honestly, was just to get to 5,000. If we can get to 5,000, I think that'll be amazing. Cars is pretty much my life. So obviously it's probably your all's lives too. So you all get it. Everybody know, you all know what I'm doing here. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Keep following along. We'll see you on the next one.